Welcome to RotoWire. We are the fantasy football podcast here, sponsored by Chalkboard, where you simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. I'm Jim Coventry, and every week I will be with you here to go over the biggest reactions from the Sunday action. So we begin with instant reaction number one. The Packers blow out the Lions. Now, look, I talked about this during the preseason, and this game is not going to be indicative of the whole season. I was terrified for the Lions. Ben Johnson gone. Ben Johnson's a genius. Ben Johnson isn't just some dude. He schemed amazing offenses. Remember, Jared Goff was outcast from Sean McVay because McVay saw there was a ceiling with that. Well, we saw Jared Goff get back to prominence under Ben Johnson. And I said with Ben Johnson gone, there's two things. First thing, Ben Johnson. The second thing, that interior offensive line was completely revamped. Frank Ragnow was a legend at center. And I knew right away, how do you end up getting after Jared Goff? Interior pressure. Because if he has to move, he's doomed. Always been doomed. Always doomed. And so now we saw this. And Green Bay wasted no time. Remember, Matt LaFleur's coached against his team for a while. So that said, we saw it. The heat coming up the middle. They sent it to the outside too. Jared Goff had no answers. I mean, he completes 31 of 39, but it was all short passes. Laporta got 79 yards, but St. Brown, 4 for 45. Jahmyr Gibbs, 10 catches. PPR, you love it. 31 receiving yards. It was terrible. And the running game, nothing at all. Again, offensive line, 3 new starters. Monty, 11 for 25. Gibbs, 9 for 19. I warned people. Now, again, let's not overreact. It's week 1. All right, things change. And this is not going to be the Lions all year. The Lions will learn. They'll get better. Ben Johnson's gone. They're not going to fix that. They're going to play teams that don't have the level of defense Green Bay had. Green Bay had a good defense last year. They schemed up some pressure. Yeah, they don't have good corners. But now you take that pressure and you bring Micah Parsons in. And everybody else who was a decent rusher now is a secondary rusher. And now that brings a lot of problems for an opponent. Downfield passing game, I said Jamison Williams, they're not going to have a chance to get the ball downfield him. It's going to be schemed up stuff like Ben Johnson did. We're not getting that. We're not going to get that here. So J-Mo was 4 for 23. It's going to be a common stat line for him. Again, they're going to play teams that can't bring pressure like Green Bay. So let's not completely go out here. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be fine. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be fine. Everybody else is going to be hit or miss. Monty's going to be hit or miss. J-Mo's going to be hit or miss. Laporta should be fine too. I think the 3 top guys are fine. Goff, for fantasy, it's going to be one of those roller coaster rides. But again, it's going to be matchup based. But don't go so over the top and say, well, Gibbs is done. The 10 catches are going to help you today. So, but the 50 scrimmage yards, so that got you. Hey, you got 15 PPR points out of them. So I guess that actually kind of works. The touchdown, garbage time to Tesla, nice play by him, but he wasn't a factor in the game. Garbage time, who cares? It's not going to be a regular, thing going for him. So just be careful about that. Tesla's, I never thought he'd be a thing. So I don't think he's going to be a thing here. Occasionally, will he get some touchdowns? Maybe, but he is not a part of this offense. He is going to be the number 5 option, maybe. When you count in Laporta and you count in Gibbs, that's about it. The Detroit defense is going to be really good. But remember, they were against Matt LaFleur today, and Matt LaFleur can coach up an offense. He can beat most offense, so he's fine. The passing game, Jordan Love, this was last year, and I cautioned you about this as well. I said, this is a run the ball team. They're going to pass when they have to. If they don't have to pass, they're not. Matt LaFleur figured out in the middle of last year, Jordan Love is a game manager. He's a good quarterback, but he's a game manager. You don't want the team on his shoulders. With the lead, Jordan Love 16 to 22, very nice. 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, very nice. Ran for 4 yards. Okay, so what? But this could be a common type of game for, Jordan Love. So this is going to be what you could expect. So now we're going to talk about Josh Jacobs. This was a nasty, nasty run defense he was against. And I know they were down a couple people. I know, and the names are going to evade me quickly. I apologize. But they're down 2 defensive linemen, but they have reinforcements. Tyleik Williams was drafted in first round pick. So they kind of DJ Readers there. But Josh Jacobs late in the game, he took care of business. And that was what came out. So 19 carries, 66 yards. He punches in a late touchdown, 1 catch, 4 yards. But you'll take that. It's about 14 PPR points. And this was a nasty matchup. But Josh Jacobs is the engine of his team. Receiver wise, nobody had more than 3 catches. Jaden Reed led with 3 catches, and we were worried about his foot injury. Ends up 45 yards at a touchdown. Dobbs catches the 48-yarder, so he gets 68 yards. Another one, and again, it's a long season. Stuff's going to change, but I caution everybody about Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden has to be the downfield guy. He'll catch underneath stuff, of course, but if you've got Jaden Reed and Dobbs and Tucker Kraft underneath, you drafted Matthew Golden for the downfield role. What is the worst part of Jordan Love's games? Downfield passing. So I never thought, now maybe it'll fix. Maybe it'll fix. Again, it's week 1. We're not doing victory laps. We're not, going out on the crazy limb. But this is exactly what I thought would happen. And they're not going to, if they're leading, they're not going to need to chuck it downfield because that's where Love will turn the ball over. And you know that Matt LaFleur is not going to put Love in a bad spot if they're winning. It's going to be conservative, safe throws. It's going to be Josh Jacobs running. So just be careful. Everybody's high on Matthew Golden. If you have him on your roster and you love him, keep him. But that's a player, even though he's off the bad game, people are just going to say, well, they blew him out. They didn't need the run game, they need the pass game. So you might just say, you know what? Let's just think about this. And maybe we dangle him out there and see if you can get somebody over aggressive to jump on him. The Packers are for real. Micah Parsons there, that defense, like I said, the safeties can pick up for those bad corners. They can do a lot with their personnel now. So this is going to be a fun team to watch. The Lions, again, they're going to be fine. They're not going to win 15 games like last year. They'll figure some things out. The defense is great. They've got great players. They're going to win their 10 games. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be fine. And again, the stars will be fine for fantasy, but the guys that aren't quite there, this is going to be a roller coaster ride for them. Instant reaction number 2, the Steelers top the Jets in a thriller. Oh my goodness, was this a game? I tell you what, this was a bad matchup for Justin Fields. He was playing at home, great. He's playing the Steelers. And right guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, out for the season. They just lost him. It was really one of those things where it's like, man, what are we going to do here? Steelers are going to put a lot of heat. The Jets scored on most drives. I don't have the numbers right. Most drives they scored. And at the end of the game, Fields was going to lead them possibly to a game-winning field goal. Garrett Wilson got drilled by, number 5, Jalen Ramsey. Got drilled by Jalen Ramsey, knocked the ball loose. That would have moved the chains. Justin Fields, as a passer, 16 of 22 for 218 and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson, and look, Garrett Wilson was it in the receiving game. We'll talk about Breece Hall in a minute, but of the receivers and tight ends, other than Wilson, nobody had more than 31 yards. Garrett Wilson, 9 targets, 7 for 95 and a touchdown. And again, that unfortunate pass breakup at the end. Yeah, that Ramsey hit was great, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a great hit. And that's what Jalen Ramsey does, right? So such a physical player, and really wish Garrett Wilson would have hung on to that ball. Would like to have seen that. But that's it. Garrett Wilson has proven to us for 3 years. I have horrible quarterbacks other than the few weeks with Aaron Rodgers, but then Devontae Adams was there, so he wasn't even the number 1. I've had horrible quarterbacks. I've had defenses doubling me other than the weeks with Adams. So Wilson's seen it all. And I always said his floor was super high. I kept him at wide receiver 15 all summer. Didn't really change him from there. And that 7 for 95 and 1 against Pittsburgh, yeah, he got the touchdown. And remember, I told you that Justin Fields worked with DJ Moore 2 years ago, and DJ Moore had a career year, 1360 and 8 touchdowns. And I don't see why Garrett Wilson can't do that same type of thing. Fields can lock on an alpha receiver who can get open. So that's a great thing. Uncle Ted, Bowers, Ingram, and Kittle. What a day for that. Hopefully Bowers is okay. Kittle was ruled out quickly with the hamstring, and that tells me it's probably multiple games. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the house. Don't hold me to that. Ingram, calf injury. We don't like that. He's a 31-year-old player. Hope Bowers downplayed the injury after the game. So hopefully it's not a serious thing. We don't want to lose him either, but I don't want to lose anybody really. So Breece Hall. And here's another one. Man, and I tried to steer as many of you as possible in this direction. I kept saying, look, Brees Hall had an interview, said he played last year through a sprained MCL. And I said, I believe him. That's the only way I could explain Brees Hall's season last year, other than Aaron Rodgers poisoning the well. But there was no other reasonable explanation as to why Brees Hall was disappointing last year. And I said this, and you remember this if you listen to me. I said that they're going to talk Braylon Allen up as being, oh man, Braylon Allen's so good, so good. Are you serious? Brees Hall is an elite level superstar. He's a top 5 running back when he's healthy in the league. Top 5. He's right there with Bijan. He's right there with McCaffrey. He's right there with Saquon. He's right there with all of them. And of course, I said Aaron Glenn is going to be a fool if he sees Brees Hall looking like Brees Hall, and he's going to stick to his guns on Braylon Allen. Well, Hall gets 19 carries. Braylon Allen got 6. Now, Braylon Allen got the touchdown, so he did vulture Brees Hall on that. Brees Hall second in targets with 4. So Brees Hall looked like Brees Hall. So especially if you bought the draft dip on him, Drake London has a shoulder sprain day to day right now. Just saw the report flash up here. Ian Rappaport, I believe, gave that one. It flashed too fast off my screen. So as I'm saying, Brees Hall is going to be the star we thought. And we saw it against Pittsburgh. He just was gobbling up yardage. It was a beautiful thing. And there's going to be much, much easier matches. But the fact he was second with 4 targets, catching 2 for 38, that's a great, great, great sign. But again, Braylon Allen to get the touchdown, 6 carries, 9 yards for Allen. So 1.5 yards per carry, while Brees Hall is going 19 for $107. That committee's over. Unless Aaron Glenn is a fool, which maybe he is. And yes, so that's where we were going. Brees Hall had that huge ADP slide in late August, and I snapped up as many shares as I could. I was taking him when he was at the 2-3 turn. I thought that was a steal. And then he's going in the 5th round an underdog, 4th round in other drafts. It was ridiculous. And it's sometimes we just got to say, if there's a talented player, there's a talented player. You roll with them. You don't overthink it. You don't say, coach speak. Oh my gosh. But Aaron Glenn, all right, hopefully you learned a lesson here. Superstars are superstars for a reason. You can't just do your defensive coach. Great. Blitz everybody on defense. Beautiful. It works for that. Offense is a completely different ballgame. Your stars are your stars. Now, the Pittsburgh side, you're going to be happy with Aaron Rodgers' numbers if you started him in a super flex league. 4 touchdowns, 244 yards passing. Weird game. You still saw it with Aaron Rodgers. Whenever pressure was on him, he wilts, throws the ball away, takes a sack. He is skittish to pressure. Now, the Jets, they actually project to have a decent pressure rate, a little above average probably. There are going to be games when the Steelers are playing like Cleveland and Myles Garrett. That's going to be a real problem for Aaron Rodgers. But then there's games where they're going to face teams and the pass rush isn't going to be so great. So you're going to have to match that out. I think it's going to be all dependent on that. The running game, non-factor. Jaylen Warren, 11 for 37. Fortunately, he chipped in a late touchdown reception to cash in for fantasy. So he ended up being okay for you. I'm sorry, that noise will go off in a minute. So that said, Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know how bad Caleb Johnson must have been during training camp, but he had to have been like the worst running back in history. To put Kenneth Gainwell on the field, we saw him in Philly. He had his chances. He is a very borderline rosterable player. 7 carries, 19 yards. Gee, that's 7 ways. Oh, yeah, he got 3 catches, 4 yards there. Just terrible. How Kenneth Gainwell is getting carries, meaningful carries, other than like last year, maybe giving a blow to Saquon Barkley. That I got. Fine. 7 carries when Warren had 11. Wasted. Caleb Johnson got 1 carry. Actually, he did the team a favor. He drew a 15-yard penalty on it. So actually, he did more than both of the other backs aside from the touchdown from Warren. But anyway, I don't know what they're doing with the running back too, but I hope they watch the film and say, Caleb Johnson may be bad, but we can't put Kenneth Gainwell out there. I hope that's what they figure out, but I can't trust anything with Mike Tomlin to help the offense. That 30-yard shot to Calvin Austin on the sideline. That kind of gave him a good fantasy day. But 4 for 70 and a touchdown, 6 targets. So that worked out. DK Metcalf had a bad matchup. Now I got to go back and watch the individual film. I'm watching 8 games at a time early, so I can't tell you how often Sauce Gardner was on Metcalf. I guess when I go back, I'm probably going to say there's quite a few snaps where Gardner was on it, but I can't quantify that because, again, 8 games going on. Good luck with that, right? But Metcalf, 4 catches, 83 yards. You will take that. This was a brutal matchup. If you're going to tell me you get 12.3 PPR points in a game like that, you'll take it all day long. That's a beautiful thing because I was worried about Metcalf, and I have plenty of shares, but this was very fine. The tight ends, Jonnu Smith, 6 targets, 5 catches, 15 and a touchdown. But you know what? It showed that they're going to get him on that short catch and run stuff. And I do think that is going to have some traction. I do think that they're going to be able to get a lot of, in the run after catch will get better. Some of the plays will get schemed up the longer. And I know he knows the offense, but when he gets used to the blockers, I think that Smith will be fine. I think Smith is a borderline tight end when we drafted him at tight end 23. Again, the volume and the usage here shows that he is a thing here. Got a few people. I got Jamie in the house. Welcome. And Kittle down. And then Ertz did get a touchdown today. But like I said, Deebo Samuel was the one eating up those short and intermediate that Deebo Samuel should have been like the Ertz replacement. I know one's a receiver, one's a tight end, but all that catch and run last year was all free. Defense were getting them that, and like Ertz would make something out of it. But Deebo, even this stage of his career, and I think we'll have time to mention Fannin later, so we're good there. And Calvin Austin did look nice on his opportunity. So that said, Pittsburgh will be very matchup dependent, but it was very encouraging there. But Pittsburgh wins this game, and 34-32. A lot of people were betting the under on that one. I just said that as a complete stay away. It looked too good to be true, and there were too many possible outcomes. And Justin Fields, that's the story. Justin Fields is the story. His ADP fell. When he first was the Jet starter, he was getting steamed up to quarterback like 8, 9, and then he was falling out of the top 12, like all the negative buzz on him. He's going to be what he's supposed to be. He's going to be run the ball, and he's got Garrett Wilson, and he looked good. He looked good in a bad matchup. So Justin Fields, you should be your fantasy starter. The rushing yardage for Fields, 12 for 48 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. That's huge. But Pittsburgh, again, that's one of the better defenses you're going to see. That 12 for 4. If he gets 12 carries in other games, that's going to be 75, maybe 80 yards. So don't be surprised when that happens. All right, guys, Fantasy Sports Knockout, where a fantasy league meets a knockout pool, an innovative take on fantasy football. The concept's simple. You choose a new fantasy lineup each week and score points the same way you would in any fantasy league. But you must choose your players wisely. You can only use one player at a time. You can only use each player one time. Let me get that straight. Lowest weekly score, a group of scores is eliminated from the contest every week. Concept simple, but survival's not. How will you play? Load up early or play the matchups and save the better players for later? Fantasy Sports Knockout. Can you survive the fantasy? Sign up at play.fantasysportsknockout.com today. Again, that's play.fantasysportsknockout.com today. And now we have instant reaction number 3. The Bengals edge the Browns. And I tell you what, when the holiday season comes, I think the Bengals should be sending a holiday card to the Cleveland Browns, because the Cleveland Browns have no idea how to get a kicker on that team that can make things. Easy missed field goal, missed extra point. It was a nightmare again from the kicking perspective. And here's the funny thing. Matt Prater may not be like the gold standard for kickers, but he was available a week ago. He just got brought on for Tyler Bass. So this Andre Schmidt, 1 for 2 and a 1 for 2 in extra points. And there they go. They lose by a point. Now, I don't know what to tell you here. The Bengals played their starters in preseason. They looked like they were really going. This is a divisional matchup. And that's always the thing. Divisional matchups are very, very weird. But Cleveland, since that great defensive year 2 years ago, they lost a lot of talent after that year. They lost more talent this year. Linebacking crew is kind of a mess. Really, there's no elite passers outside of Myles Garrett. So they used to have a lot of help. He doesn't really have that now. Corners, they lost, I believe it was Emerson for the season, but 2 of their 3 running backs. But the good news, Quinshon Judkins probably playing next week. I can't remember. I think it was Adam Schefter. Don't quote me. I'm pretty sure it was Adam Schefter, but they expect Judkins to be up and running next week. And it came from Schefter. So whatever it is with league discipline, I don't know if that's the case. So, yes. So we will have Quinshon Judkins leading the backfield, hopefully next week. Hopefully, because Dylan Sampson, not getting it done. 12 for 29 against Cincy. Jerome Ford, 6 for 8 against Cincy. Raheem Sanders scores the touchdown, 3 carries, 3 yards. They got 2 yards per carry in this game. And 2 yards per carry. That's awful against Cincinnati. So that's not working. But Quinshon Judkins should be the answer for them. Whatever he did, I don't know what he did. Innocent until proven guilty. It's fantasy football. I got to talk about it. I'm excited for that. I'll get back to Cincy in a minute. But Joe Flacco was fine. The 2 interceptions, neither his fault. Both were like one, Jerry Jeudy had the ball on the ground. Then he like pitched it up in the air accidentally and right to the defender. And then in the last drive of the game, again, hit the defender, hit a receiver in the hands, and the ball came out, and that was fine. Sampson at 8 for 64, but again, bunch of dump offs. He'll be out of the picture pretty quick. It's going to be Quinshon Judkins backfield very, very fast. It's the way it is. So, yep, Quinshon Judkins all day long. But I think Sampson does settle in as a number 2 because Ford only makes $1.75 million a year. He did take a pay cut. So Njoku, here's the thing. I just didn't see this one coming. Njoku, 3 for 37, fine. It's fine. 6 targets. Harold Fanta got 9 targets. Didn't see that one coming. I know they said he'd be involved. I didn't. I never thought there was a world where David Njoku, who was like an outstanding tight end, and he had a great history of Flacco from those 5 games 2 years ago. The fact that Fanta goes 7 for 63. This was an odd game. They're all going to be odd games for Cleveland. But I think if Cleveland gets a running game, they're going to be able to play the 45 attempts that might go down some. Judkins, I hope, helps that because they can't keep doing that. They just can't keep doing that. So all that said, Jerry Jeudy got some late production, 5 for 66. You'll take it. Cedric Tillman, 5 for 52 and a touchdown. He was one that clanged off his hands for an interception late, so they were fine. But all that said, Flacco, 290 and a touchdown. You'll take it. The 2 picks, again, not his fault. We can't do much about that. Cincy, just don't panic. I'll make it real simple with Cincy. Don't panic. Chase Brown scored a touchdown, so you got bailed out. Only about 2 yards per carry for him. Ugly. Higgins, 3 for 33, 4 targets. Chase, 2 for 26, 5 targets. So that means Burrow throws for 113 and 1 touchdown. Took 3 sacks. They're playing in Cleveland. Divisional game. They won. Again, thank the kicker from Cleveland. But they won, and that's important for them. But I do think getting this divisional game out of the way, they're going to have a tough schedule. We know that. But I do think you can't argue. I don't think anybody out there is worried. You can't be worried. So we know Joe Burrow will be fine. And nothing, like, we move on. We just move on from there. Fant caught the touchdown. The tight end thing, Gesicki 3 targets, Fant 5 targets. But again, in that tight end room, every week that'll be volatile. I don't know how they'll handle that, but Fant 4 for 26 and a touchdown. But I think it's going to be 1 week Gesicki gets it, 1 week Drew Sample. Maybe not. 1 week Noah Fant. But when the receivers get more involved, I just think that tight end, I don't think you're going to be able to count on any tight end when you're starting in a lineup. I don't think that's going to be possible with that. So, all right, we move on because we can't really go more on Cincinnati because we know they'll be fine. It was just a divisional game, and that's all it is. We're going to go over more week 1 reactions after we take a short break. All right, instant reaction number 4. The 49ers top the Seahawks. This was a great game in terms of being close. Wasn't a great game otherwise. George Kittle leaves with a hamstring injury, ruled out pretty quickly. He was doing well, 4 catches, 25 yards and a touchdown, and then that was it. Touchdown was great. And after that, they only scored 1 more touchdown late in the game. And the funny thing is, who scores the touchdown? Tight end Jake Tongas. He was at the Bears. I think maybe some other teams. The announcer on TV said those are the first catches of his career. I can't verify that, but that probably is right. But he caught a touchdown. It was the game-winning touchdown. So hooray for Jake Tongas. Luke Farrell, 1 for 4 to 2 tight ends chipped in. Juwan Jennings left with an injury, a shoulder injury. He had the calf holdout, whatever that injury was. But Juwan Jennings, 2 for 16. But he got injured. We'll find out his status. Ricky Pearsall. We were all excited about him in preseason. Others more than me. I definitely wasn't leading the charge on Ricky Pearsall, but Pearsall had a nice 45-yard catch down the stretch in that game, helping the 49ers in their comeback bid. And that 45-yard catch really salvaged his day because 4 of 7 targets he caught, but 108 yards. So that really bailed his day out. Broken up pass in the end zone that I saw. Again, that was only 4 games at a time we're watching there. So, but it was a nice game for Pearsall. So give him credit. If Jennings misses time and if Kittle misses time, they're going to have to lean on him more. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of defensive attention on him. So I don't think Ricky Pearsall on his own is a superstar, but again, if he's getting 7 targets and he's one of the only games in town, then I think he's going to be just fine. We'll see how that all works. McCaffrey, that's buried the lead, right? Everybody's scared about McCaffrey. Here's what I said. If you missed the start sit show I did this morning, 11 a.m. Eastern every Sunday on where you're watching this right now, I said this before the thing. McCaffrey, we knew was going to be active. And I said it real simple. I said, look, if the 49ers are going to activate McCaffrey, he's fine. Why? Because it's week 1. If this was going to have a strong chance for a re-injury and a setback, they were not going to jeopardize their entire season by rushing him out there in week 1. That was never going to happen. This organization's smart. You may say things about Kyle Shanahan's game management and things like that. This organization's smart. So McCaffrey was going to be fine. Now, Seattle did a nice job against him in the run game, 22 for 69. They limited him, but as a receiver, 10 targets, 9 for 73. So McCaffrey, 142 scrimmage yards, doesn't find the end zone fine. He'll find it plenty. But after that scare, if you're going to tell me get out the 142 yards, I think anybody would be happy with that. But I did tell people start McCaffrey as you normally would. Brian Robinson, 9 carries, 33 yards. So he had that go here. So good there. And then, like I already said, Pearsall had the nice game. And Kittle, we hope he gets better soon. We don't know what the deal is. The other side of the ball, there are no victory laps week 1. There really are no I told you so, but those who listen to me, I will reference back what I said. And you heard me talk incessantly about Kenneth Walker. Each year he's gotten worse and by like a half a yard per carry, worse per year. And we make a narrative for this guy every year. This is the year. Oh, the zone run scheme this year. It's going to be everything. Kenneth Walker. And I kept saying to myself, Kenneth Walker has not shown to be a consistently good runner. He could be an occasional home run hitter, but he is not a sustaining back in this league. Maybe he changes it. Maybe next week it's brand new and beautiful. But I'll tell you this, Zach Charbonnet was in the game early, and Zach Charbonnet outcarried him 12-10. Walker, 10 carries, 20 yards. And the 49ers are not a good run defense. Now, I'll give them this. And I said this in the start sit show. The 49ers, they are very familiar with Clint Kubiak's running scheme because where do you think they learned it from? The Shanahans and the Kubiaks. They're all mixed in together. So they knew the run scheme. Their run scheme was not going to surprise them, but the 49ers are not a good run defense. But I said this too. The problem that Walker was going to face is Sam Darnold's his quarterback. And there is no defense in the league that's going to say, oh, my gosh, we got to worry about the passing game here. Because their only weapons, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Cooper Kupp is washed. They that's it. That's all they've got. It's JSN. And he's a short and intermediate receiver. So you could load up as many people as you want, and you could take all those gaps from the run game that are going to be there, and you could have bodies there. So Charbonnet runs downhill. Walker's going to dance and look for holes that are never going to materialize against defenses that just say, we're stopping your run. Darnold has to beat us. I said Darnold would be fine last year when he had the offensive line and the infrastructure in Minnesota, but he was never going to be fine in Seattle. 16-23, beautiful, but it was all JSN. 9 for $124. No other pass catcher more than 15 yards. It was all JSN. And that's the other thing we said. JSN will get all the targets you can handle. 13 targets. That's going to be the normal because they can't throw to Kupp. Arroyo had 1 target. Oh, Kenneth Walker had 3 catches. He got you 4 yards. So, look, Kenneth Walker, if you're rostering him and you still believe in him, you stick with your gut. But you might be able to move him. If you believe what I say, and I harped this all summer, if you think that's correct, then consider. Somebody might say, oh, bad week, no problem. This guy's going to rake here. And then go ahead. But if you believe he's going to rake, keep him. But this is exactly what I mean. It's one game. It's one game. Next week could be totally different. So we understand that. But I want to point out, this is exactly what we said ahead of time was likely to happen. So very much concerned here. That said, the 49ers do sneak out with a win. But, man, if these injuries pile up, if Kittle's going to miss time, it's going to be a problem. Because in Jennings, they just can't. They don't have the dudes right now. And Ayuk is out till at least week 6. And we don't know what he's going to be like coming back. So a lot of concern there. All right, let's go to instant reaction number 5, and we are going to have the Jaguars beat the Panthers. But before that, cash in on your NFL picks this season from Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player sets to win up to 5,000 times your money for a limited time only. New players get $20 free with no deposit required. Yes, you heard that right. $20 free just on sign up. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 in a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30 plus states. Download Chalkboard today and use the promo code ROTONFL, ROTONFL, to get $20 free with no deposit required. All right, so I said we'll do the Jaguars beat the Panthers 26-10. And I guess that question is probably for the chat, James. I went over pretty harshly how I felt about Walker before the season. I don't think it's much different now. So, all right. And, I see, Jamie, you do your own start sit show. I hope that's going extremely well for you. I'm sure you're doing a phenomenal job there, so keep the good work up. All right, so let's start with the Carolina side. Carolina scores 10 points against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's not a good defense. Left tackle Ike Ekwonu was out. That was not optimal. The rest of the line's pretty good. I was saying all preseason, everybody's all hot on Bryce Young. And I said, look, Bryce Young ran in the second half of last season. He ran for 6 touchdowns in the last 6 games. He had some rushing output, and that was great. It was beautiful. And people banked on some fantasy points. But in weeks 14 through 17, 4 games, he averaged less than 200 passing yards. Well, guess what? He goes into Jacksonville. What does he throw for? 154. 18 of 35 against the Jacksonville defense. Now, good news, Ted McMillan, 9 targets, 5 for 68. And you know what? You know I'm out on Ted McMillan. Not because of him. I think he's a star. I'm not trusting Bryce Young. 154 yards? What if next week, what if Liget gets a couple of catches? What if Renfro gets a couple of catches? What happens to that 68 yards? 68 yards might be a ceiling game for McMillan with Bryce Young, because Bryce Young is not an NFL quarterback. And everybody said, last year he was improved. No, he had the easiest schedule of defenses, and I guarantee you, defense is treated like a bye week. There was no game planning for Bryce Young last year when he came back, because what are you going to do? What are you going to take away? Well, now there's film on the few things he did right, and those things get taken away. Anyway, salty about it. If you got McMillan, you got your 11.8 points. Hopefully that's good for you. But it's not McMillan's fault. McMillan's a star. No question he's a star. But Bryce Young? Yeah, I don't think that's happening. That's like worse than Spencer Rattler almost, and that's saying something. Chuba Hubbard gets the volume, catches a late screen pass, takes it to the house, cashes for fantasy for you. 16 for 57 on the ground. Fine game. And then again with the catch for the touchdown, 3 for 32 and a touchdown, 27-yard touchdown. That worked out well. So Chuba Hubbard, again, you play him as an RB2 with RB1 upside, and you love it. Jacksonville side, they score 26 points. Trevor Lawrence is terrible. Again, we don't do victory laps, but Trevor Lawrence is the same quarterback he was last year. Bad decisions, taking sacks. As soon as the first read's covered, he just freaks out, goes elsewhere. 19 of 31 against Carolina's defense. 178, did throw a touchdown, he threw a pick. Remember I said in the offseason about Brian Thomas Jr., how Brian Thomas Jr. did very little with Trevor Lawrence. He was Superman with Mac Jones. I didn't say Mac Jones any good. Mac Jones just stuck the ball downfield and force-fed targets to him. Well, Brian Thomas Jr. got 7 targets today, which is probably a good for Trevor Lawrence. Wasn't the 11 to 14 he got Mac Jones, but 1 catch, 11 yards. Now, fortunately, Liam Cohen schemed up a run play to Brian Thomas Jr., who scored on a 9-yard rushing attempt. So you end up with 1 catch, a total of 16 scrimmage yards. No, they got 20 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. So you get bailed out. You got 9 PPR points out of that. So that was fine. Now he'll do better than that in some games. But until I see Trevor Lawrence actually learn to stick with the play, I am very, very worried about the ceiling for Brian Thomas. He'll have a floor. His floor will be fine. I didn't want to call him a bust, and I don't think he will be a bust. I think he'll be fine for a floor, but I just don't think those ceiling games of Mac Jones are going to be there unless there's a real light bulb that goes on for Lawrence after week 1. I'm not convinced that's happening. The leading receivers, Brenton Strange, 4 for 59. De'Ami Brown, 3 for 52. Travis Hunter led the team with 8 targets, 6 for 33. So again, 9.3 PPR points. He actually outscored Brian Thomas Jr. in PPR by 0.3 of a point. But 6 for 33, not inspiring against Carolina. So fine, force-fed him some targets. It worked out nice, but not much going on there. So Trevor Etienne's the story. Etienne had a 71-yard run. I'm surprised he got caught. He had a blocker and he got caught. 143 yards on 16 carries. 3 for 13 through the air. Tank Bigsby, 5 for 12. LaQuint Allen, 1 for 7. Bashal Tootin, 3 for 11. I have to think this game gets ETN the lead role for at least a month. I have to think it's at least a month he has a lead role. So I would assume that to be the case. And so that's that. Travis Etienne, start him for now because he's in an offense that's going to make the most of his talents. All right, everybody. Thanks for our sponsor, Chalkboard, where you simply choose more or less on your favorite player. That's to win up to 5,000 times your money. And thanks for everyone for listening. Come back next week for another edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast.